the Furman Inquisitor, the show that 9 out of 10 podiatrists recommend. Today, in honor of St. Patrick's Day, we'll be discussing something near and dear to the lives of Furman students everywhere, the barn.
Founded in 1865 by an ex-Confederate soldier and a member of South Carolina's Hall of Fame, the barn was originally constructed by Mance Jolly on top of an old Native American burial ground. Here's a fun fact. Mance Jolly lost 5 brothers during the Civil War, and he swore to kill 5 occupying Yankee soldiers for each brother that he had lost. And he even succeeded, but then he drowned in a river in Texas when the Federal Army chased him down. Isn't that neat?
The barn has a long, dark history that stretches back hundreds of years. It's a history filled with fascinating people, tales of debauchery, murder, and so much more. I've studied the barn for 20 whole years, actually, and I have to say, I wasted my life.
When people usually think of the barn, they think that it's always been this messy, dirty place where townies usually hit on college freshman girls. They are absolutely right.
Following Mance Jolly's death, the barn fell into a state of neglect and disrepair, basically becoming what it is now. By 1890, it had become the base for the International Workers of the World Union, a precursor to the modern Communist Party of America. It was the site of multiple protests and rallies against the powers of big business, and was even the site of the infamous Travelers' Rest strike, where conflict between striking workers and several Pinkerton agents descended into a week-long drunken brawl. Unfortunately for the Communist Party of America, the barn was bought in 1920 by Joe Masseria. Dirty Joe Masseria was a member of the Italian Mafia and a notorious bootlegger. He saw the barn as a way he could spread his business south into unclaimed territory, and began to use the business as a front to illegally sell liquor and hard alcohol across the region. Unfortunately, Masseria died several years later during the Great Christmas Massacre of 1931. Legend says you can still see the bloodstains on the floor.
Oh, that Dirty Joe. What an interesting character. By the way, am I getting paid for this?
After the untimely end of Dirty Joe, the barn went through a bit of a rough patch. In 1944, a Japanese fire balloon, or Fugo, traveled over 8,000 miles of ocean and continent to land squarely on the building. The average Japanese fire balloon was loaded with hydrogen and a 15-kilogram anti-personnel bomb, and was the first weapon ever to achieve intercontinental range. The Imperial Army hoped that balloons released from the Empire of the Rising Sun would be able to travel across the Pacific Ocean and bomb targets all across the American West Coast. Unfortunately for the Japanese, the only balloon that managed to make it to America ended up blowing a hole in the roof of a dark, empty, depressingly dingy local bar instead. For years afterward, the barn stood frail and empty, a testament to a simpler time. In 1967, the barn was inherited by Dr. Larry Wright, a sociology professor at Furman University, who moved into the structure with his wife and children. Unfortunately for Professor Wright, he moved into the barn exactly 100 years after its original construction, and the ancient spirits trapped within the Native American burial ground that the barn was built on were finally freed. The ancient spirits quickly decided to wreak their terrible vengeance upon the countryside and began raising armies of the undead to serve their nefarious needs. In a single terrifying night, most of Travelers' Rest, half of downtown Greenville, and Furman University's entire campus were ravaged by the demented spirits. Senator Strom Thurmond was forced to declare martial law over Greenville County, and the United States Army was sent in to maintain order and hunt down the remaining undead. To this day, Greenville County celebrates June the 1st as Larry Wright Day, in honor of that professor's invaluable help in eliminating the undead menace.
This was truly a remarkable period in South Carolinian history. While 1967 may have been the summer of love for the rest of America, for the residents of Greenville it was the summer of the undead. You know, because of all the zombies.
Following the undead attack of 1967, the barn came to be the site of a great deal of unusual activity, as various cults and religious sects from around the world came to the bar and tried to reawaken the slumbering spirits beneath it. One such cult, The Free Organization of South Carolinian Masons of South Carolina was led by a man named Reverend Pluto, who claimed to his followers that an alien spaceship would arrive at the barn on September 1st, 1998, and take them to the planet Pluto. He was completely right.
Reverend Pluto was a genius of his time. Too bad more people didn't listen to him, honestly. Just like he said, on September 1st, 1998, an alien spacecraft was hovering above the barn, and it beamed up all of his members, like all of his cult. And for all we know right now, they're on Pluto somewhere.
I wish I was on that spaceship.
In fact, the aliens made a habit of returning to the barn every few years, beaming people up to take back to their home planet. Unfortunately, the alien spacecraft was shot down in the riots surrounding the 2007 Super Bowl championship, and the aliens have boycotted the barn ever since. It is rumored that they have since turned to the Capitol building for their test subject needs. Well, as you can see, the barn has had a long and colorful history. Who knows what the future may hold for this unique establishment? But its history, however gruesome and dark, pales in comparison to that of another Greenville institution. Join us next week to learn the sinister secrets of the Furman Dining Hall.